was just one shelter, right? It was just in Bacolod. How did
Yes.
that branch out to the one here? There are times when you really just can't do
Yeah.
anything. So, how do you deal with that heartbreak as an animal lover? But what is the state of the pounds in the Philippines? What is the stand of the government in terms of animal rights? How can people like us help you continuously, Malu, and all the other shelters out there? Travel, music, pets, men, women, life in progress. Welcome to Let's Talk. Hey, everybody. I am so excited to be here today. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd like to officially welcome everybody to episode 01 of Let's Talk. Jamie here, your host. I'm so excited and I'm getting goosebumps just saying this because this has been a goal of mine for more than a year and we're finally here. We're making it happen. I'm even more excited because the lady that I invited to join us today is someone I really look up to. She is the voice of the voiceless. She lives and breathes animal welfare. She inspires people to pay attention to the needs of stray dogs and cats. And I admire her so much for that because she truly makes a difference. Please help me welcome none other than Malou Perez of PAWSsion Project Foundation. Hi,
Hello.
Malou.
Hi, Jamie, and to everyone watching. Wow, that intro. I felt so fresh.
Malou. But it's true. You are an inspiration. I don't know how I first found out about Passion. Getting teary eyed. I don't know how I first found out about Passion, but ever since I found your page and your mission, I've been following you closely on Instagram. And every now and then, I try to help as much as I can. But what you do is truly making a difference. So I admire you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. People like you are really what keeps me going because this whole advocacy is actually very draining in so many aspects, and I'm sure we're gonna get to it as we talk.
Yeah, I want to understand and help others understand as well that it isn't easy what you do, and you can really get help from others. That would be amazing for them to do through this process. And also, I want to understand how Passion Project started. But before that, Malu, let's have a little bit of fun. Malou Perez is the founder of Passion Project, but what do we really know about her? On all episodes of Let's Talk, we're going to start off with rapid fire questions. I'm going to stop myself from reacting to her answers, but what I'll do is I'll ask her quick questions and she'll have to give me an answer that's only 1 to 3 words as quickly as she can. So, Malou, are you game for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Rapid fire questions. Malou, biggest inspiration,
Mother Teresa.
life hero,
Mm, my parents.
first thing you do in the morning.
Check my phone.
We all do that. I'm not going to react. Okay, moving on. Last thing you do at night.
Pray.
Hmm. Person you text the most throughout the day.
None in particular, but the volunteers at Potion Project.
I figured. Favorite dish.
Pizza really. My favorite
I
food.
know. Yum. Favorite word.
Passion.
Hence passion. Pet peeve.
Uh, People who first stand up when the plane lands.
I don't like that as well. What about favorite person?
Favorite person. Ah, it's so hard to think of anyone specific, but I love everyone who loves animals.
I feel the same way. And that is why I really reached out to you, just so everybody knows. We don't know each other personally, and this is the first time we're meeting. But I
Yeah.
really just pushed myself to invite you, Malou, because I love that you love dogs so much because they really need our help, especially in the Philippines. So let's jump right in. How did Passion Project start? When did it start? And how
Yeah,
did you make this all happen?
crazy. It's all a roller coaster ride, and I started it October of 2018
Mm-hmm.
because of a Facebook post. that I saw about 50 dogs on death row, and they were
Mm.
not even scheduled to be killed by euthanasia but by gunshot. So it was nothing planned. Everything really happened so spontaneously. But to be honest, I have always dreamt of putting up a dog shelter. You know, it's one of those dreams that you have in your head, but you
Mhm.
don't consciously act on it. So every time I tell people about how PAWSsion Project really came to being, I still feel
Mhm.
overwhelmed because I feel so lucky that the universe kind of made that dream happen without me consciously doing something about it, because again it was so spontaneous. And prior to putting up Passion Project, I was really focused on self-love. I was into
Mhm.
traveling. I quit the corporate world like few months before I started Passion. I was working in the corporate world for 4 or 5 years. And when I quit my last job, I really wanted to focus on self love. So I really attribute, Passion Project right now to those years of having to focus on myself, because I always believe that you can actually you cannot give what you don't have. So Passion Project is just a product of the overflowing love that I gave to myself, especially because I felt so exhausted like the whole time I was in the corporate job. So yeah, the reason why I'm telling you this is because the shelter where the first the farm where the first shelter was built actually happened because our family friend Manang Jen was supposed
Mhm.
to partner with me. We were supposed to put up an Airbnb business to that abandoned farm because she saw me post a photo of me camping in an island in Palawan. So she was like, she also had that idea of wanting to offer that space to people where,
Mhm.
people can just relax and be at peace with themselves and nature. um so yeah, that's how the first shelter came about. It was supposed to be an Airbnb business, but then she also saw the post about the dogs on death row. So when she saw it,
Mhm.
the first person that came to mind was me because she know how much of a dog lover I am. And um we didn't really have any concrete plans yet during that time.
Yeah.
So like the perfect timing. So when she called me and asked me if I was willing to, rescue the dogs, like she'd be totally hands off with the rescue and everything, but she has the space to offer. So I don't
Oh.
know, without any second thoughts, without any experience on how to run a shelter, no experience on how to rescue that that number of dogs, I just said
50,
yes.
right?
Yeah, 50. I just said yes to it. um
Mhm.
and everything really came to fruition because I genuinely just wanted to help those dogs. Like, for some reason I didn't think about the technicalities, and that's why I learned so many lessons along the way as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was really just that genuine desire to save those dogs. And again,
Mhm.
it wasn't supposed to be a permanent shelter. We just wanted to rescue those dogs. But then when I posted about the first rescue operation, I got messages from so many people all over the Philippines telling me, hey, it's also happening here. There are also dogs on death row here, and then so on and so forth. And that's how I decided to really put up Passion projects. I remember I thought of the name just, I think, within the week, upon the
Wow.
first operation. Because prior to the shelter, I actually also started an online business. So that was my first passion project. So the online
Mhm.
business was basically geared towards zero waste stuff, just to help the overwhelming environmental
Environment.
project. So that when Passion came, I thought this is also a passion project because I've always wanted a shelter, but this time it's dedicated to our furry friends with paws. That's why I named it Passion Project. And then my friend who I met through traveling was the one who made the logo. So if you can see, so this is
Uh-huh.
the logo of Passion Project. So it's a
Aw.
paw And there's a dog house in the middle, and then the paw prints are actually trees and bushes because it symbolizes the farm where the shelter was first built. So yeah, everything, everything happened so fast, like the logo, the organization name, putting up of the shelter. It happened so fast, like in less than a month. Everything was there already, and the rest is history.
I love that you just jumped right in. There was a call from the universe for you to make it happen. It was a long time dream and it just was there for you to take. And I'm so
Yeah,
happy you decided to make it forever, Malou, because through what you do, you inspire people like me who have the same dreams, who love our furry friends out there as much as you do as well. And you make us realize that we can make a difference. There's so many facets of your answer, though, that I want to dissect further. So it happened in 2018. Where were you based then? Was this
Bacolod.
in Bacolod?
Yeah,
Mm.
born and raised in Bacolod. I was in Bacolod that time. I just came from a I just came from a vacation. Like 2018 actually was the year where I had the most trips, like most solo trips, without even realizing that was the last year I'm gonna go on vacation. Actually,
Well, you still need to take a break every now and then, okay?
that's something that I continuously remind myself of. But yeah, like that year was, I cannot even put into words just about how much my life has changed for that year. But I thank God that He gave me the opportunity to at least travel for a bit before I started the shelter. Because it's just so hard. It's so hard. People would always
Mhm.
tell me that, hey, you need to take a break. I mean, you need to go travel too when you can. But then it's so hard, especially for me, because we have two shelters in two different places, and it's not even like a drive away, but a flight away.
Mhm.
And what's really very hard for me is that I am very, very hands on, and I'm very attached to the rescues. Like, of course, along the way, I try to think that I need to slowly hone and inspire someone who'd also,
Be the
treat the
same.
rescues and the organization the same way as I do. But
Mhm.
even if I find someone right now, I just feel like life's not the same if I'm not involved with having to run the
Yeah.
shelters. And again, because I'm so attached to the rescues. So yeah, I still continuously pray that, God will just guide me on how things are gonna go in the coming years.
And he has since 2018. So
Yeah.
2018, your life changed. You said yes to this call to help
Mm,
out our furry friends. You made it forever. Then it was just one shelter, right? It was just in Bacolod. How did
yes.
that branch out to the one here in Luzon,
Yeah. So
Bulacan? Yeah.
I started the shelter. Actually, the first shelter was not even in Bacolod. It was in Victorias, which is 45 minutes to an hour drive away from the city. So even that alone
Mhm.
is already like a lot of work logistics wise, because there's no clinic there. So like, every emergency case, every rescue that needs to be brought to the clinic should be brought back to the city. Supplies wise, we
Mhm.
need to bring supplies from the city to Victoria City as well. And then I had to go to Manila to process the registration of PAWSsion, because I wanted to make everything right. I wanted to register the organization. So, and because it was like a spontaneous decision to put up the shelter, of course I was not able to do it before I started the shelter. So I went to Manila
Mhm.
to process the registration and stuff. And then when people like PAWSsion kind of had a following already that time, and it's something I am very, very grateful for. Like, all of our followers are organic. That's
Yeah.
I think that's also because we're very, very active on social media. Like during that time, it was just me managing social media. So I think like there was never a day, even up until today, that we had no stories, no real time posts. I was very, very active on social media. So um, yeah, I think a few months later, I went to Manila for the processing of the registration. People saw that I was there, and then I got tagged on several pound cases. So I remember the first pound that I went to when I was in Manila was Muntinlupa pound, because it really
Mm.
struck me because people were telling me that dogs are being burnt alive.
Oh
So
my
I went to see
gosh.
for myself. Because what usually happens in the whole animal welfare world, of course, because we're all so emotional, we usually
Mm,
react right away and then post and then bash, which actually does not address or solve the problem. Like we have to think also and not just let our emotions overpower like our decisions,
mm,
because again, that's when I realized that's why like the LGUs and the NGOs, like all of the animal welfare groups don't work together, because they always feel attacked by by the
mm,
other by the parties. So like the NGOs always feel like there's a wall and they cannot go inside the pounds. The pounds also try to limit people going
mm.
inside the pounds because they know that they're gonna be bashed. So when I heard about the news, I went there and I just wanted to see it for myself. Um, and right there and then I realized just about how complicated and how hard the battle is. That was my first pound in Luzon, and then
Mhm.
so yeah, when I stepped foot inside the pound, like the first thing that I saw really was a burning furnace. So I was like, what is this doing here? So and it made things more complicated because like the pound is in a separate place than the city vet office.
Mm.
So because I wanted to talk to the city vet and wanted to know how we're gonna be able to adopt dogs from there, we'd still have to go to the city vet office, which is like a drive away. So I remember I wanted to go inside the pound because I wanted to
Mhm.
see the situation of the dogs, and they were like, "Oh, you need to go to the city vet office first." I was like, "How inconvenient is this?" I mean, like you get
Exactly.
people there wanting to help out and save the lives of those dogs, but you make things so difficult for them. So, but anyway, of course, we still went to the city.
Mhm.
And I remember breaking down at the city vet office. It was my first time to break down because I was telling them, I was just trying to explain to them that we wanted to see the situation of the dogs and that we wanted to help in any way possible.
Mm.
But they had an ordinance that if you're not from Muntinlupa, you cannot adopt a dog from town. So it's like, how crazy is this? Other than that, they also have this local ordinance that people from Muntinlupa can only own two dogs, I think, as far as I can remember. So it's like,
Mhm.
why would you limit it to two dogs? There's so many houses and
Exactly.
places here with big spaces, and if they have
Uh-huh.
the capacity and the resources to care for more than two, and if it doesn't like cause any nuisance or noise pollution, why would you limit it?
Why not?
It's like
Mhm.
it's like telling us that these dogs don't have a chance anymore, because for sure almost all of the animal lovers in Muntinlupa already have two dogs. And I was like, these dogs were captured here. Basically, these are dogs that have been neglected by people from here. So you expect the same people to get them from here. So it's like, I got so emotional because that's
Mhm.
when I realized just about how unfair it is for the
Mhm.
animals, that because of all of these crazy rules, all these crazy ordinances, if we humans who have a voice don't fight for them, they don't really have a fighting chance anymore. So
Exactly.
I remember I was really crying there. I was like, oh, this is so crazy. I mean, yeah, I mean, you should consider people like us who are not from this area, who would make an effort to go here and find ways to have these dogs rescued and rehomed. And I was very, very blunt when I told them that you don't even have enough manpower to face us here and explain things to
Mhm.
us. You think you have enough time to go and house visit the people who would adopt from you? Because they were saying that the reason why they limited to people from that area is because um, they do house visits. Of course, I don't
Yeah.
believe it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was the first pound rescue. To cut the long story short, people from Muntinlupa helped us save those dogs,
Wow.
because even if they were not gonna adopt, they filled out the forms for us, and then we found adopters for those dogs outside Muntinlupa. So I mean, things like that just make you hate the system so much, because at the end of the day, they know that you will find a way to have them rehomed, even to people who are not within the area. But then they will still honor
Mhm.
it as you follow like their
The
guidelines and
process that's
yeah, right.
there.
It's so
It's
crazy.
so limiting. It's crazy. I really believe this country has a long way to go in terms
Long,
of
long way,
animal rights.
long, long way to go. So that was the first pound rescue. And then when people saw, because it was all over the news, when people saw
Mm-hmm.
that we were able to clear the pound in Muntinlupa, I got tagged about 100 plus dogs on death row at Bulacan Pound. So that's how the Bulacan shelter came about. Again, there was no plan to
Mm.
rescue them. I just wanted to get the word out. I posted it on the social media page, but then again, when you set foot in the pound, when you see the dogs, actually, especially when you go eye to eye with them, there's no way that you're just gonna post. You will really find a
Mm-hmm.
way to help them, rescue them, or at least find homes for them. So yeah, it was that pound rescue that gave birth to the Bulacan shelter. That was July of 2019. So that was not even a year after we
Not
started
even
the
a year.
we're still learning so many things, but yeah, like I always tell everyone, I've always felt that this is a god-given mission, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how overwhelming it is. I mean, like, if it's meant for you, and if you're doing the right thing, and you stand up for what you believe in and you work hard for it, then God's gonna guide you through the day-to-day process.
It makes sense that if I remember correctly, you mentioned your biggest inspiration is Mother Teresa because I feel like you are on this planet for a mission as well. And I
Yeah,
think it's just as important as helping people out there because
exactly.
these dogs and cats don't have a voice. And I
Exactly.
really, really admire you for doing what you do, Malou. So when you went to Muntinlupa, did you just show up? How did you do it? Because I see these posts all the time as well on Facebook. But what drove you to say, I'm just going to go there? I'm just going to show up at the pound and do everything necessary, no matter how difficult the process is, to see how I can help. What was that like? Did you just end up there?
Yeah, I mean, like when I got the message that the dogs are possibly being burnt alive. Again, there was no plan to rescue them. I really just
Hmm.
wanted to see for myself what was going on. But then again, as
Hmm.
usual, every time I'd go to the pound, even if there was no plan to rescue, like we always end up finding a way to
Rescuing.
rescue them. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's impossible not to do
Hmm.
anything for them once you're there already.
Now, Bulacan is there, but how did you find the land for that? Because one of the things that people like you who want to have
Mhm.
a shelter as well would think of is funding. How do you find the land to have for these dogs as well? How did you make that happen? You said it yourself. It was less than a year
Yeah.
since your other shelter. So, did somebody help you? Did you do it all on your own? How did that happen, Malou?
Yeah, so the first shelter, again, for the first few months, it was for free because
Mm.
again, we didn't even think that it was going to be something permanent. And then eventually, I was already paying rent. Because of course I was already putting up structures, and again the Airbnb didn't work out anymore because I mean, like, how are people gonna be able to have peace when you
Peace
have
with the
people
dogs.
there? So yeah, I started to pay rent, like, I think 2 months after we put up the first shelter. But it was very, it was cheap. For the
Mm.
space, it was more than a hectare big. And we
Oh.
were only paying 10,000 in the beginning, and eventually increased to 15,000. And then for the Bulacan shelter, it was actually Isa Calzado who helped me find the space because again, I didn't even reach out. I was just posting on social media that there are dogs on death row, and then we're looking for a temporary space for them. And then when she saw my post, she messaged me, and then she posted it on her personal Facebook account. So it was, the whole journey of PAWSsion project, no matter how exhausting things are in terms of having to deal with animal welfare, it really reminds me that there is really hope in humanity,
Mm.
because this is also where I got to meet people, the most genuine souls who would go out of their way, like influencers, celebrities, people that I'm not personally friends with, would just reach out to me and offer whatever help that they can offer. So yeah, she posted it on her personal Facebook page, and then the mom of her high school kabarkada saw her post.
Yeah.
And they're the owner of the farm where the Bulacan
Wow.
shelter is right now. So she messaged Isa So I remember that was less than 30 minutes after she messaged me and after she posted on her Facebook. She called me and she's like, Malu, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, God is good. She was saying that. I was like, what? And she said, oh, we have a space for the dogs already. So the shelter right now, um, same as the shelter in Bacol. It was an abandoned farm. Like it hasn't been used for 13 years, I guess. So same as the Bacol, it
Mm-hmm.
was a ruin also. So basically, it was harder because, of course,
Okay.
it's better to actually start from scratch and build from like
Yeah.
a plain space. But then it was also a ruin. And I remember again, it was July when we had to start. It was a rainy season, so the main hall right now, where most of the dogs are staying, like the tiled area at the Bulacan shelter, it's a big space, but they didn't have roof then. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, there were no tiles before. There were soil and plants inside. Again, it was an abandoned space. It hasn't been used for like 13 years already. So I remember there were three, four volunteers helping me out during that day. We had to clean up the area. It was raining so hard, and we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
clear the area just so the dogs will have a place to stay because we we had a deadline. That's a
Yeah.
problem with towns is that's they have a deadline.
Yeah. So
But
you
yeah,
had to finish it all to be able to save those dogs in Bulacan.
yes, and other than that, of course, we had to think of their security because there was
Mm.
no perimeter fence. And again, like the area is really nothing that you can still use as a shelter. That time, we had makeshift roofs during that time. I posted for like a donation drive for cages that we can use temporarily, and then we made use of a lot of chain leashes as a problem. Like even the most
Mm.
beautiful non-chain leashes are gonna get broken with rescues. They're gonna try to bite it and they will try to
Yeah.
escape. So you cannot go with aesthetics when you rescue. Like you have to go through all of the chain leashes and make sure that they don't get broken so they don't escape. So yeah, we did it batch by batch. So the first
Mm.
batch was the batch where Don Charlie came from, and that's why he's the
Uh-huh.
ambassador because he's from the first batch. And I've always wanted a corgi. I have always wanted a corgi, but I never wanted to buy. So Charlie
Mm.
also is kind of an answered prayer because he is an
Oh.
Aspen who looked like my dream dog. And then Charlie has always been like a name that I've always wanted for a dog that I was gonna get in the future. I've always wanted a Labrador and a Golden. I wanted a big dog. It's like a dog,
Uh-huh.
not a toy dog. And Charlie's the name of Mickey Hale's Labrador who passed already. So
Oh,
I've always
really? Okay.
loved him. Um,
Uh-huh.
Plus the name Charlie for Don Charlie.
Uh-huh. Is he with you now or is he
Here,
still in Bulacan?
is here sleeping. Charlie, come here. So he's already retired, and I brought him here in Bacolod. Hey,
Oh.
Charlie, say
Hi,
hi.
Charlie. You're so cute. Sorry to disturb your sleep. You're so adorable. Oh, he
So he's
does look like a corgi, right?
right. So he was
Mm,
very thin, just
yeah.
like all of the other rescues.
All of the
When
other dogs.
yeah, and most of them really have conditions upon rescue.
Yeah.
That's the whole challenge with having to rescue because it's really more than just rescuing them from the pound or from the streets. Like you need to address the health problems, and just
Uh-huh.
having to identify the health issues is already a lot of cost because you need to run blood tests, blood chem, distemper test, all of those things. So that is also what's very heartbreaking and
It
frustrating as an
is.
animal
It
rescuer because
is.
you cannot save all of them.
I tell myself that now because I can relate so much to your answers, Malu. You said we get so emotional, right? We see something on Facebook and it just makes us mad and
Yeah,
frustrated and we want to do something, but
yeah,
it breaks our hearts as well, right? It really breaks our hearts because we sometimes we have to understand the fact that we cannot save all
that's
those in need out
that's
there. How do
that's
you how do you deal with that? Because for me, I have to be very transparent. I am one of those people who tag you all the time, who tags PAWSsion all the time. And along with PAWSsion, other shelters as well. But PAWSsion really replies.
Mhm.
And even if they don't have the resources to do something about it right away, I know they hear the call and they
Mhm.
find a way. And I know you help and coordinate with other shelters too. But there are times when you really just can't do
Yeah.
anything. So how do you deal with that heartbreak as an animal lover?
Every day really is a day of heartbreak for
Mm,
rescuers, especially for shelter owners like us, because other than um, having to deal with the fact that you're unable to save them, you also have to deal with people attacking you and bashing you for not being able to save them. So it's like you don't
mm,
really know where to position yourself because, again, the fact is we want to save all of them. There's no question we want to save all of them. But every
mm,
move entails cost. We don't even have enough manpower, and the reports that we get are from all over the Philippines. So
yeah.
like we don't even have rescuers of our own. So like when we get rescue requests, it gets sent to me and I'm the one going there. Um
Uh-huh.
or what we do is that we repost it on the page and ask if there's anyone from the area willing to secure the
I
dog.
see that. Mhm.
Because we're far, we're from Bulacan, we're from Bacolod. Imagine us having
Yeah.
to go all the way to Cavite or like somewhere else far, and then when we get there, the dog is not there anymore. So it's a waste of of time and resources as well. So in the beginning, it was very very hard for me. Like I remember after the first pound rescue operation, I was unable to sleep for so many days because like every time I would close my eyes, I would just picture the faces of the dogs begging for help. I would hear their cries. And then like the first pound rescue operation, it was so traumatic for me because it was my first time to set foot
Yeah.
in a pound. Imagine like someone as passionate as me, and I've always been a dog lover, but I was never even aware that we had a pound. I was never even aware that dogs are being killed by gunshot and that it's legal. And that's where like all of my passion and drive to really get the word out and just bombard
Mhm.
social media on the reality of animal welfare in the streets, because again I felt like there was a lack on the efforts of everyone to really give a
Yeah.
voice to them, because again how
Mm,
come I never knew about this. So that's
exactly.
actually why PAWSsion was very very loud on social media on the reality of dogs being killed by gunshot,
Or
pounds, because
burn.
we started with pound rescue operation. That was why I was very vocal with pounds then. So yeah, and then I remember after we went to Vitas Pound, Manila Pound is really one of the worst pounds I've ever been. I was not able to sleep for a week. I couldn't eat
Uh-huh.
properly. I remember that there was no intention to save those dogs. Then during that time, I was with Mark Nelson, and I appreciated him so much because he just went with me to have a sit down talk with someone from the LGU, but we ended up rescuing those dogs, and he ended up ditching his his job during that day, because we finished
Wow.
so late already. But then the dogs, more than 10 dogs died on the same day that we rescued them because they had distemper. There was a distemper outbreak. And yeah, I really remember for more than a week I couldn't sleep, and every time I close my eyes, that's the picture that I see in my
You could
head.
see.
Yeah, even if I try to distract myself, I would hear them barking and crying for help. It was so traumatic. So what really pulled me through was of course prayers. I was praying so hard. I remember going to church. It was a few months after I started PAWSsion. I remember going to church and I was praying, so I was crying because I felt so exhausted, physically,
Mhm.
emotionally, mentally. And I was praying and asking for guidance, like, God, this is really your plan for me. I was, and until now, I still keep a regular job. So it was so hard to manage everything.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, so I prayed in the church and I asked for a sign. And like less than a minute after I prayed, there was a woman who entered the church carrying a puppy.
Oh
So I
my
was like,
gosh.
God, that was so fast. I mean, how often do you see people bringing like a puppy?
Exactly.
She was like, okay, God, you got this.
It's your
So
calling.
yeah, every time I feel exhausted, and every time I feel like giving up, I always just pray. And through time, what actually really also continuously pushes me to move forward are the happy rehoming stories that we have,
Yeah.
all of the testimonials from people who have adopted from us, people, random people who would message me and tell and send me photos of them feeding strays, random people telling me that they've adopted because they were inspired by PAWSsion project. So people have no idea just how big of an impact their messages have on me. I may not be able to reply to everyone, but I read all the messages. So, and that's also like a very, very powerful thing that I'd like to remind everyone that, uh, even if you'd see me posting like throwback travel photos, you have no idea just
Yeah.
how what I'm dealing with emotionally. And it always matters when we choose to stay kind. It always matters when we express our appreciation to people, because you
Exactly.
never know that's what's gonna hold them and pull them through in the very difficult moments of their lives. So yeah,
Mm.
it's actually everyone who continues to push me despite all of the exhaustion.
Well, I think I speak for everyone, Malu, when I say you are a hero to us, because there are so many thoughts around saving our
Yeah,
furry friends out there, but it's hard to put into action. And you showed us that it's possible. You showed us that God will find a way. If you will
yeah,
find a way, it's
exactly.
all possible. And look at you now. I didn't even know that you have a regular job as well, because I can imagine the responsibilities you have of running these two shelters, and you
Yeah.
still have a regular job. Is it an 8-hour job,
No, no, no.
Malu?
So I'm actually a licensed financial advisor. So I work for the
Oh,
insurance
okay.
industry, which is okay because yeah. So that basically, when I left the corporate job, I quickly transitioned to like a job that could give me flexi time because I wanted to
Fine.
focus on
Mhm.
myself. And again, my only leisure really is traveling. Then, so I was like, I cannot go back to a desk job. And then also because I was still doing my online business then during that time, so it was so hard trying to juggle everything. It was extra
Mhm.
hard when the second shelter was built because again, like I had to fly back and forth,
Yeah.
because I was very hands on with everything. And then the pandemic came, and that's really when I opened the doors of PAWSsion to volunteers. And
Uh-huh.
I am very, very grateful that we have the team that we have right now. We're a very, very small group of dedicated volunteers, everyone keeping a regular job. Some are still
Mhm.
students. Some actually shifted to vet med because of their involvement to PAWSsion, which really it inspires me every day just about
Mhm.
how big of an impact PAWSsion project is to the lives of other people. Like I'd sit down with some volunteers and they'd tell me that they prefer volunteering to PAWSsion more than doing their jobs, which is of course overwhelming. But yeah, it really inspires me that the things that I do, again, it's something that I just love to do, actually inspires other people to see their purpose in life as well, to
Mhm.
inspire other people to actually realize what they want to do in life, what course they want to take up, things like that. So it's just so inspiring.
Yeah.
Of course, I give it all back to the animals. I mean, without them, I wouldn't also be the person that I am today. So yeah, I've always appreciate all of you guys would tell me that you feel like I'm a hero, but the animals are actually my heroes because I wouldn't be who I am today if not for them.
Yeah. We need more people like you because there are so many in need.
Yeah,
I struggle. I said it earlier. I was going to be transparent in saying that sometimes I just try to skip through what I see online because it breaks my heart that I can't do anything.
yeah,
That's when I tag you guys and I tag other shelters as well. But I also know that at times you guys have your hands full. So
yeah,
let's always remember, as you said, Malu, just a reminder to everybody listening in, let's be kind and let's remember that Malous team and all the other shelters out there, they try their best to help out. And we don't need to spread hate. We just need to try our best to help as
Yeah.
well. I think I struggle living in the Philippines because I see the state of how animals are treated here. Whenever I go, I'm actually from Cagayan de Oro City. I travel a lot, like you as well, for media trips and etc. And when I'm in provinces, I see the state of how the animals are kept as pets. I
Mm-hmm.
see it breaks my heart every time. I see dogs tied with a short leash with no shelter. It's
Yeah.
raining, it's sunny, they're just outside the house or they're in these small cages
Yeah.
outside of the house and that's where they're kept.
Yeah.
Even in Makati near the
Mm-hmm.
studio I work in, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a dog that was in a box with literally this tiny hole for him to peep through, and I actually asked the lady who owned that dog. I don't see him around anymore. I said, "What if I have a shelter rescue the dog?" And her excuse to me was, "We spend on this dog. You don't need to rescue this dog," and etc. Like she didn't even want me to help the
Yeah.
dog. And that's how I hate to say it, but that's how a lot of us Filipinos see
Yeah.
pets. It's just guard dogs. And then, worst of all, I feel like the government has a long way to go as well. I don't want to point fingers, but as you said, pounds are at a very horrible state. I
Yeah.
don't know if it has changed, but what is the state of the pounds in the Philippines? What is the stand of the government in terms of animal rights?
Honestly, they don't even have a stand. That's what makes everything so difficult for us animal advocates, because animal welfare really is the least priority of the government. I've honestly tried everything that I can to understand why it's like that. We were
Mhm.
very fortunate that we were able to partner with Kong Ronnie the past 2 years, but of course we're back to square one right now because this party list didn't win. But yeah, we went as far as lobbying it to the Congress, but then it didn't
Mhm.
even make it to the first hearing. That's how complicated things are. I mean, like, it's not as easy as, yeah, we want to amend the law. Like, we need to tap like as many senators as possible to come together and help you and pass it to the first, second, third hearing.
Uh-huh.
And then I even went out of my way to sit down with the head of Department of Agriculture, because VAI is under DA, and I heard
Mhm.
it straight from them that there really is no budget for domesticated animals, and the only project is just the anti-rabies vaccination, which is not going to solve the problem. I mean,
Mhm.
all of us animal advocates continue to rally for free spaying and neutering because we're
Yeah.
dealing with over 13 million stray animals here. That number does not even include like pets that are not being taken care of by their owners. So we're dealing with a big number. And if your
Mhm.
only solution is just to vaccinate pets with the anti-rabies vaccine, how about the strays? I mean, like,
Yeah.
the reason why dogs, even cats in some cities, are being impounded is because people complain that they're
Mhm.
loitering around. I mean, of course, they don't have a home. Where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
or people are uneducated. So it really is the lack of education that makes everything so hard, because again, number one, there is also a stigma on rabies. Like, so many people still think that is inborn when in fact it's not. So again,
Uh-huh.
all of these unending cycle of impounding dogs is because of the anti-rabies act. And I feel
Mhm.
like, and this is why I strongly feel that animal welfare should be included in the curriculum. Like, at a very early age, kids should be taught that um, you have to care for the animals. That
Exactly.
strays are not dangerous animals so long as there
Mhm.
are projects for them. When you get bitten by your own pet and you know that it has up to date vaccinations, then there's no need for you to get scared. I mean,
Yeah.
why the hell did you even have your pet vaccinated only for you to get scared when they bite you? So it
Uh-huh.
really is the lack of education that makes everything so hard, and the lack of programs. Again,
Mm.
we continuously push for free spaying and neutering because again, the problem is so overwhelming. And no matter how many beautiful and ideal projects we have, if they continue to overpopulate, then we'll never be able to manage it. So, first things
Mhm.
first, we really have to control the population first so that we'll know what number we are dealing with. So, and again, that's why it's so hard because spaying and neutering is very expensive. We don't even have
Yeah.
enough manpower. I mean, like, if only us volunteers can spay and neuter every day, you'd probably see us spaying and neutering every day in every corner of the Philippines. But, there's just so much limitations on what we can do
Mhm.
manpower wise, abilities wise, resources wise. So, yeah, it's so sad because animal welfare is the least priority of the government.
Is there a politician out there? I know that there are newly elected
Mhm.
politicians on board. Is there a politician showing you or giving you a bit of hope that he
Really
or
none.
she will focus on animal welfare? No.
National level, none. None.
Mm.
And that's why, like I mentioned earlier, we're back to square one because we
Mhm.
honestly have no ally anymore on a national level. So what we have to do right now is really just wait for them to sit
Mhm.
down. And again, we're back to square one, and we need to approach all of the possible people that can help us. Again, senators wise, we need them for the
Mhm.
Animal Welfare Act to be strengthened, to be revised even, because again, why the hell is gunshot even legal? So I mean,
I've
even
seen
that.
videos of it, Malu. Have you seen that video that went viral? Where this
Mm-hmm,
vet, I think it was a vet doing it, or someone in power who
mm-hmm,
was shooting these dogs in plain sight.
because it's
And that
legal.
is
It's it's
what
it's,
about
it's
burning these dogs, like you said, the other shelter, that's legal as well? No,
Of
right?
course not. Of course not. So again, the problem here also, especially with pounds, is that so many of these pounds are not are technically not open to the public. So they don't allow people
Mm,
to go inside and take photos and videos, which is absurd because how the hell are these animals gonna get help if people won't
mhm,
post about them? So that's when I realized that it's because the pounds look filthy, because the pounds look
yeah,
really awful. That's why they don't allow people to take photos. And I always feel like um, they're really, this should really be put upon the city vets. I mean,
mhm,
the LGU, the people in the LGU, the mayors, the councilors, so many of them are not even aware that their cities have pounds. So I feel like city vets and people from this department should really double their efforts in reaching out
mhm,
to the possible offices so that they get a budget, so that the LGUs will understand that, hey, having to take care of the animals is actually taking care of our constituents and our people too. Because when the animals are healthy, the people are going to be healthy too. We're going to have a
exactly.
healthier environment as well. So I feel like we should really put so much pressure on the city vets to bridge the gap, especially with the LGUs. Because, again, as I mentioned earlier, there's nothing on a national level budget wise. But
Yeah,
LGUs, they have a lot of budget. And like, what is 500,000 monthly for Kapon, right? I mean, they have
yeah,
millions of budget. Like, they can spend millions and billions trying to build and rebuild roads that are not even broken. I mean, 500,000 is nothing for them to
yeah,
allocate on a monthly basis so that strays and pets of indigent owners who don't have gates can be
mhm,
fixed. So, yeah, and this is also something that I want people to understand because we feel like they put they expect so much from us. We feel so much pressure from everyone when in the first place we need this pressure to be felt by people in the government because it is their job. I mean, all of the animal welfare groups are just volunteers here. We're
exactly.
just very active because this is our passion. And this is why
Mhm,
I feel like um, the right people should be placed in those respective offices because if they have the passion, if they love animals, then they'll always have the initiative to come up with programs and projects and they will really humanely treat the animals. But again, I mean, we already know just about how bad the
it
system of
is.
the government here is in the country, and that's why we just continuously pray that we'd be able to inspire like one. politician at the time because we really need their help. That is a fact. We cannot do
I'll
this
pray
all
for
on
that.
our own. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you even I see the programs you have, and I know you do have Kapon projects. You spay and
Mhm.
neuter dogs. How do you even afford that, Malu? Is it all from the donations being
Mhm.
sent over? Because it's a
Yes,
lot of money.
it is a lot of money. And that's also why I want everyone to understand that the reason why we cannot just conduct free spay and neuter drives anytime is because we have two shelters. We have more than
Yeah.
600 rescues. So basically, all of the funds that we use are just the funds that are supposed to be for our shelters and our rescues. But we try our best to spread it out to as
Mhm.
many projects and activities as possible because we know very well that just having to take care of the animals in our shelters is not gonna
A
solve the
lot.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it
yeah,
costs
I
a
want
lot to do it. You have 600 dogs, right? How many
100.
are in Bacolod?
We have around 160 plus in Bacolod and about 40 cats. And then in Bulacan, we have 300 plus
Wow.
dogs and then around 100 cats. And that does not even include like some of the rescues that are being fostered that we still support. Doesn't include the
Mhm.
strays that we feed every day. Not all of the projects and the programs that we do, and not all of the rescue cases that we accommodate get posted because
Yeah.
there's just, our hands are full and we just couldn't post everything anymore. So yeah, all
Mhm.
of the projects that we have are basically funds that are meant for our rescues that we try to really spread out so that we're able to help others as well. And another downside, I think, of being a very very active organization and people seeing so many influencers and celebrities posting about us is the notion that we get a lot of donations, that we get government funding, that we get corporate funding, when in fact it's not true.
Mhm.
We're able to survive because of donations from individuals, of like common people, I always get so overwhelmed whenever I get donations like 1 peso, 10 pesos from students, and they even send a note like I'm just a student, but yeah, I'm sending my
Hope it's
like a
out.
part of my
Yeah.
allowance to you today. So it's so overwhelming. But yeah, I want everyone to understand that we don't get any funding from the government. We don't get any corporate funding. Or if we get a big donation from someone that's well known or someone that's influential, it's basically dedicated to one project. Like, say, for example, it's a fund to buy land for the shelter, it's a
Mhm.
fund to build this and that. So sometimes we get attacked that, oh, you get so many donations and then you don't get to help us. I mean, like, our own two shelters is already a handful. Um, and that's also why like through the years, like we're turning 4 this October, I've really learned how to choose my battles. In the beginning,
Yeah.
I was so emotional, get so affected with every
Mhm.
negative message that I see, every negative comment, and then eventually I learned to choose my battles. And I think that's something that we all should learn, and just focus on what you can do continuously, just inspire everyone, because no matter what you do, you won't be able to please everyone.
Yeah. Please take care of your heart, Malu, and know that people know your worth in this field. You have done such a big difference and you continue to make a difference. And that is why I so honored you to be here. You are an inspiration to me. With that said, before we wrap up today's episode, because I think you and I can talk about this for more than an hour, we're coming close to an hour now. But how can we help? The way I help PAWSsion is I share as many times as I can on social media. The way you post, you actually literally give voices to the
Mhm.
animals. Because when you post, the captions are like, these are the dogs that you have
Yeah.
saved, and they're talking to
Yeah.
us. I keep sharing this. And as you said, even when we don't have enough, we still try to give what we
Mm.
can because I know for a fact that you do something about these dogs. I see the transformation. I stalk you on your stories and I love your voice when you're talking to these dogs and you're just so motherly and so nurturing, and that's what they need after having such a tough life on the
Like,
street. So how can people like us help you continuously, Malu, and all the other shelters out there?
there are so many ways to help. I mean, first things first, we have to learn how to be a responsible pet owner ourselves. We have to know our obligations and responsibilities as for parents, because again, we cannot give what we don't have. So we have to educate
Mhm.
ourselves first. Um, Try to start in your own backyard. Talk to your family members. I mean, like, I feel like it's just so hypocritical that you post about, animals facing cruelty, but then, like, your brother or your sister who has a dog actually just ties them or just leaves them in a
Yeah.
cage, or things like that. So we have to start in our own backyard, because when we experience the transformation ourselves, everything will just flow. All of your sense of purpose and your passion will just flow when you yourself actually experience the transformation, especially with the animal that you're able to help. And
Mhm.
like I always say here in PAWSsion, like, if you can rescue on your own, please do it, because we
Yeah.
cannot be everywhere.
Mhm.
There's so many self-help videos on YouTube. If you have the resources to actually have yourself trained to rescue, then please do so, so that there'll be more of us on the ground. And if you can adopt, then that would be amazing, because
Mhm.
there's just so many animals in need of a home. I mean, you don't necessarily have to adopt from PAWSsion Project, especially if you're far from the shelter. I will continuously use my voice and my platform to help other shelters as well, because there's so
You
many of
do.
them. Yeah, there's so many
I see
shelters
that.
who don't have like the social media presence. I was
Mhm.
just so lucky, and I felt like everything was just in the perfect timing for PAWSsion Project, and it was all of those outburst of emotions that made me post every day. But I mean, like, other shelters don't have that power. They don't have that resources. So we continuously use our platform to get help for the other shelters as well. So please adopt. Again, it doesn't have
Adopt,
to be from
foster.
Posh Project, or adopt directly from the pound, because the ones in
Mhm.
shelters, um, the animal advocates here in the Philippines are hardcore advocates. Even if they don't even have enough to feed their families anymore, they will do everything that they can to feed the rescues under their care. So basically, yes, support shelters, donate to them, but if you can adopt directly from the pound, please do so, because the animals in the pounds are basically on death row. So
Yeah.
the ones in the shelters, they're not being killed. All of the shelters here in the Philippines are no-kill shelters. Yes,
Mhm.
some rescues there die, um, maybe because of the lack of resources. That's something that I mean, other shelters get attacked as well, because
Mhm.
people say that it's irresponsible rescuing. And yes, I totally agree with that. But again, if the government is just doing their part, these shelters would not even exist. So I feel so heartbroken every time shelters are attacked, because again, the reason why we're doing this is because the government is not doing their job, and it's always just very heartbreaking and painful for us to see an animal and not doing and not do anything. So please
Mhm.
donate, donate to shelters, because again, I believe there's no shelter in the Philippines that's government funded. Right? If there's any one or two, but everything else,
Mhm.
all of the other shelters are privately owned, and we basically just run on donations. So
Mhm.
never ever underestimate, like, the donation that you will give. Like I always say, God always has a way of magnifying and multiplying things, especially when it comes from the heart. And
Mhm.
my biggest, the biggest testimonial for this really is our stray feeding program during the
Yeah.
lockdown. Like, I initially wanted to feed strays for 2 weeks. Like, that was the lockdown period during the peak of the pandemic. But we actually extended the feeding program up to 3-4 months, with having to employ 10 people, giving them allowances and supplies. And we still continue to feed
Mhm.
strays up until now, even if we don't regularly ask for donations for them, because I always believe God will provide. If your heart is in the right place, and if you continuously strive to do things right. I mean, I have to highlight that. I mean, it
Yeah.
cannot be too hard
It's hard
here.
work.
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
work, and you really need to responsibly rescue the animals, because again, I've
Mhm.
learned this the hard way. We've also had um, outbreaks at the shelter. We've also lost a number of rescues because of outbreaks. So that's why you have to responsibly rescue as well, so that all of your efforts will not go to waste. Volunteer at shelters. I always tell everyone that the best way to understand this advocacy is to really put yourself out there, get to know
Mm-hmm.
the rescues, and see just about how transformed they are with your love. Even just with your mere presence at the shelters, you volunteer. It doesn't take so much of your time to
Mm-hmm.
come down and see the rescues at the shelters and advocate.
Yeah.
Like I always say, never ever underestimate the power of advocating, even with just having to share posts. If you can, make captions, using your own words, and just expressing how you feel, so that you're also able to touch other people from your network, it would mean so much. Because again, PAWSsion Project started because of a single Facebook post. I mean, if that person did not
Exactly.
even post about the dogs on death row, there wouldn't be PAWSsion Project right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's always something that we can do. That's always what we say in PAWSsion, that even if you're not a dog lover, even if you're not a cat
Yeah.
lover, there's always something that you can do. So, just try to tap people that you know who can possibly help us. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
most especially if you know people from the government, if there's any way that you can set an appointment for us with them, so that we can sit down with them and make them understand that they really play such a big role in addressing the problems for animal welfare, please do so.
Yeah. We need them. We need the government to do their part because they are part of this population. I really believe, I hate to be so idealistic, but I believe that this world was made for all of us, animals and humans alike. And I feel like we become too greedy in the sense that we feel like we own most of it and we have the
It's so
right to shoot these
entitled.
animals. I
Yeah.
know I hate that bit. And
We
also
really
Malu,
share this planet with all of them.
yeah, I that's why I really support shelters like yours and people like you because you're right. Awareness is
Mm,
lacking, especially in countries like the Philippines where maybe some people have this notion that oh, you're so into dogs, you're so into animal rights. What about the people? We're also struggling here. But I feel
mm.
like there should be a balance and money should be spent on both from the government. You
Yeah, we
said
always
donate.
we get that. I always
Mhm.
get that in the beginning. Like we get attacked that, oh, there's so many people in need of help. Why help animals? So like I always say, I mean, help is help, no matter who is
Exactly.
for. And
Mhm.
again, if the animals are healthy, people are also healthy. And like I always
Healthy.
say, Passion Project is an avenue for kindness. If you
Yeah.
help animals, they actually help you become a better person. And that way,
Mm.
you also get to help organizations for people too, because your heart is just so
Goes
big already,
around.
right?
You keep the love going. I agree.
Exactly.
I cited that because I get that too.
Yeah,
I
right.
help in my own way every single day and I get people who don't understand
Yeah,
my love for animals. I
right.
think I'm drawn to these animals because, as we both know, as a lot of animal lovers out there know, they don't have a voice. And
Mm-hmm.
as we've both cited, people have become greedy and entitled, and we feel like we can eat them, we can shoot them, we can
Yeah.
put them in a pound where it's so dark and they have hardly enough food or water to get
Mm,
by. As you said, they don't have a chance. So,
yeah.
guys, listen to Malou's words and listen to Malou's story. She said you can do so much. Donate, volunteer, and post.
Adopt.
Post away. hmm Even common folks like us, we can help Malou and we can help shelters out there to make a difference. And yes, help people, but also help the voiceless animals out there because they don't deserve the hate and they don't deserve how cruel we become to them out on the streets. Malou, you are an inspiration. And so many times I've tried not to cry here. I really appreciate what you do
Thank
because you
you.
make a difference. So thank you for what you do and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. We're all in this
Do you
together.
have,
Tim.
yes, you have my support all the way through. Do you have a message for everyone out there listening in and who also want to help out? Or do you have an inspiring message to share with our viewers and listeners out there?
Yeah, of course, Jamie, thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to share my story and the stories of our rescues. And to everyone watching, I always end um with having to remind people that let's always choose kindness. I mean, if we people have a hard time trying to deal with life when we actually have the voice, when we actually have the resources, when we actually can do something about what we're feeling, how
Mm-hmm.
much more the animals? The reason why we're here is because we really need to help each other, animals
Mm-hmm.
included. I'd also would like to remind everyone that uh you know we have this amazing power to change lives.
Yeah.
Having to rescue an animal or adopt an animal will not just change the life and the world of that animal, it will also change your life in ways that you can never imagine. This is about how
Mm-hmm.
much my life has changed already for the years. And please support PAWSsion Project. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we're on Twitter. And please support other animal shelters as well. Let us always remember that we can always do something, and these animals are worth every single help that you will help them. And I always dream that when my day comes, the animals are the ones who will welcome me in the gates of heaven, because I always believe that all dogs go to heaven.
I
So
believe that too.
just hold on to the thought that these animals are your tickets to heaven. So I
Mm-hmm.
hope one way or another, my story and PAWSsion Project story has inspired all of you to just go for that dream, just do something about what you want to do in life. Pray so hard for you to be able to discover your purpose in life, because nothing
Mm-hmm.
quite like a life lived with purpose. Like, no matter how no matter how topsy turvy life can get, if you
Yeah.
know what your purpose is and you put your passion into it and you pray so hard for it, things will work out well in the end.
Thank you, Malou, for sharing your voice and for fighting for the rights of animals out there. Truly an honor to share your story and Passion Project story with everyone listening in. Don't forget to follow them on Instagram and also on Facebook so you are aware of how Malou and her team puts their words and thoughts into actions. Please help. The animals need our help, especially here in the Philippines. And as Malou said, choose kindness and know that you can make a difference. Thank you once again, Malou. I will be here supporting you all the way.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to everyone who listened to our conversation. Know that you can make a difference. So let's continue to fight for animal rights. Now, don't forget, let's make the world smaller by getting to know others and their stories, like what we did with Malou today and her passion project. PAWSsion Project Foundation. Next week, we'll get to know more about a couple who have made love last. So, get to know their love story and make sure to tune in to the show. Remember, let's talk 5 to 6 p.m. Fridays. Anyway, it's time for Malou and I to say goodbye. So enjoy the rest of your day. Until next episode, this is Jamie and Malou signing off. Love and light. Take care, everybody. Bye. Bye, Malou.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. That was our deep dive convo on Let's Talk for this week. Till next week, don't forget, Let's Talk, Fridays, 5 to 6 p.m.